Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kendall Bird. I'm the VP of Brand here at Solle Naturals. And it's February, and it's the month of love. All month long here at Solle Naturals, we're focusing on hormones. And it's no different in our show today. We're talking about one of our powerhouses, Solle Excell. Which is great for hormones, for supporting hormones and nourishing our bodies and helping our bodies maintain and balance our hormones. And it's great for many, many other things. And that is exactly what we're going to learn about today in our new show, Why Solle Works. Yeah, Why Solle Works is our new program. We are talking about everything about our products. We're deep diving about our products and learning all the different reasons why Solle works. Today we are very fortunate to have with us someone who has been involved with formulating herb combinations for more years than I care to count. He was integral in formulating many, many products over the years, including all of Solle Naturals products. About 10 years ago, he was focusing on helping his wife with some health concerns that she had, and was studying quite a bit and discovered how great and powerful adaptogens can be, and wanted to harness that power and many other powers of many other herbs to create great formulas and combinations. And so he is the expert in all of things Solle products. Here with us today is Greg Halliday, who is going to talk to us about Solle Excell. Thanks for joining us, Greg.
Thanks for having me, Kendall. I'm just going to say, I know a lot of experts. I don't know why it always makes me a little, it rings a little weird to be called one, but I have, and still am, around so many wonderful experts, people who use the herbs themselves and the formulas. And it's true, Solles are unique. In developing our formulas, we actually had to break rank with a lot of who a lot of people would call experts, who tend to, in our country, and I think a lot of others, focus a lot on different active components in herbs, even adaptogens, and isolate them, pull them out, and create an isolate product that's natural, and you can tell everyone is natural, but does not have all of the various cofactors. And so it is true, Solle's had to blaze a path there, and we continue to do that. It's been 10 years, as you mentioned. And I would say even after 10 years, as we go to industry events, supply chain events, we still see a lot of that love affair with extracting chemicals from plants and processing them as much as we can, so that we can use sort of what we called a symptom-focused approach, and we can neutralize symptoms. And that, of course, is not our approach, although some of that can happen for a person when they're doing it right. That is, the symptoms can certainly improve quite quickly.
Yeah.
But to limit the approach to the simple system, for us, it is not something that ever excited us, nor does it excite us now. So Solle Excell, hopefully as we talk about it tonight, we'll show you what's in it, why it works, why it does something greater than simply address a few symptoms, and why it's very useful, really for some people on a daily basis, and for everyone on a regular basis. So with that, can we jump in to some of
Let's do it.
Okay, we've got some slides here. You know I love to share information. Now, so much of this comes from Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews, and shout out goes to her as always. Not only does she have a very keen analytical mind, she's a clinical psychologist and can relate to the connection between mind and body. Solle Excell's a yellow label, so it's a clarifying product. What we mean when we say it's Solle Clarify, we're talking about removing anything that blocks optimal functioning. But think about it physically and emotionally, mentally, because there is a link nutritionally and chemically to both. In other words, it is not this separate area at Soul. It is one holistic field that ties both those together. And so to clarify, particularly with Excell, but with all the yellow products at Soul, we're trying to help the body remove and clear out and clean up debris and anything that impedes this vibration of energy, which we'll get into why we use that word here in just a minute, and any kind of function or process the body goes through to perform really the marvelous things that it does in our everyday life, both emotionally and how we feel, and physically and what we're able to accomplish. So clarifying is about that. This product itself, Soul Excell, notice the phrase underneath, vibrancy enhance. I'll come back to that. Has a few areas of special focus. Our nerves, our glands, our lungs and our breathing, and our heart, and everything that needs to flow. So the blood, the lymph, these fluids in us, these marvelous fluids that run and course throughout the body and do vital and essential things for our well-being. So Excell, if you're wondering why the name of this product is somewhat general and broad, this is why. It definitely plays a role in everything that we do. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, clarifying the problem with Soul Excell. Because we're using ingredients that go to the root processes, we're avoiding that symptom-based approach, which is simply feel a symptom, see a symptom, think, something's not right here, and turn that little warning light off, cut the cable so the light doesn't work, symptoms gone, problem still there. We're actually going beyond that approach to a holistic approach, which is bolstering and energizing those processes that in turn fix the symptom. And that leads to a lot of other things that we don't expect or that we didn't expect when we start using the product, and a strengthening of the whole person. And yes, we're talking about physical strengthening and also emotional. So this brings us back to this word vibrancy. Maybe some of you might know I do enjoy music, and when I was 12, my dad brought home a violin, yes, and said, here, try this. And so I tried pulling this bow, which is a stick of flexible but extremely hard wood that is connected to, or part of it anyway, is connected together with horsehair. And then you apply this resin or rosin to the horsehair to make it kind of sticky so that you can pull it across the strings of the violin and get them to vibrate. When a string is intact, it vibrates a pure sound and really a pretty sound. And that is altered if any of the following things happen. If you get a lot of gunk on the string, because then when it tries to vibrate, it has stuff on it. So, your body oils can build up. Some of this rosin or resin can build up in different places on the string. And then when you pull the bow across it and you try to make a sound, that vibration is changed. The strings are also finely wound. And sometimes some of that winding can come undone, or you can actually get chunks or little pieces break off of it. And then you create all sorts of weird sounds that you don't expect. So vibrancy is really nothing more than restoring things. When we kind of jump from that analogy from music back to health, restoring the energy and the levels of nutrition so that the body, think about the body's constantly in motion. Our blood is flowing and lymph should flow if we're moving, and there actually is an energy output in the cells. Metabolism creates energy, which is vital for everything. In fact, when energy measurements are too low, that's when doctors can know cells are sick. That's when abnormalities can occur, problems can occur. We call them imbalances. So vibrancy, even though it's somewhat maybe an odd word to associate with a health product, it's actually at the core of everything. And so just as this graphic shows, when we can get oxygen to our cells, when we can have movement, proper movement of the fluids in our body, the blood and our lymph, when nerve impulses and the electricity in our body can actually travel and not get interrupted because a chunk of the string is missing, to compare it to the violin analogy, then it's amazing how our body's able to bounce back and respond to changes. And sometimes, sicknesses are more brief or we don't get them at all. Lots of good things happen. So vibrancy is a core word for us at Solle. And when these core processes that we're talking about here, I didn't mention glands, although our various glandular functions, but when those messages occur and things flow and energy flows freely, we have clear minds, clear thoughts, focused thinking, more positive, optimistic thinking. There's a direct correlation. So Excell kind of plays in the middle of all that. Now, how do we go about it? If we can tonight, I'd just like to talk about two different parts of the formula. This is the first part. We call it the Tri-Maca Vibrancy Blend. So there's that word. What this blend, that nice row of roots and fruits, you got 3 roots and 2 fruits there, even though the 2 fruits are the same thing, kupuasu, and 3 different kinds of maca. They focus, now they do play a role in everything that we mentioned prior, but they focus more particularly in balancing the glands and the nerves. And so that whole connection, that interconnection, is what these are all about. How do they do that? Well, before we get there, let's tell you about why we use these and where they come from. These maca roots grows, look how high the altitude is, between 9,000 and 14,500 feet. These are high altitude plants, just below the glacial ice cap. They're exposed to extreme weather, freezing high winds, intense sunlight. Long history of Peru, and we do get our maca from Peru, from the Andes. Even prior to the Incan dynasty, the Incan civilization, it was known. But there are records that the Incans fed them to their troops for vitality, fortitude, so energy, strength. Vitality is a general term that includes more than just the physical benefits. It includes outlook and emotional and focus, those areas as well. In fact, there's some records too that when the Spanish conquistadors came throughout South America, as they learned and saw firsthand the benefits of maca in their health, some of them for tribute demanded maca, payment in maca over precious metals and gold. There's some record there. Interesting, isn't it? Maca, as we crawled towards all this progress and processed foods and changed diets, the interest died out. Some called it a lost crop. In fact, in 1979, a small amount of acres even cultivated maca. Scientists began to show its benefits and to carry out studies proving why it was so healthful. And here's a picture of Gloria Chacon. We owe her a debt of gratitude. So whenever you see or hear or talk about maca, think of Gloria Chacon. She was pretty impressive. I'll tell you a little bit more about what she did. But as a result of all this attention, here in 1991, so that was 12 years after it's almost an extinct crop, you have the United Nations Food Organization recommending that it be eaten. Why? Because it's so highly nutritional, and they recommended that Peruvians consume it. Now we know, because of the scientific analysis, there are at least 60 different phytonutrients that are of some fame and commonly valued. Different alkaloids, glucosinolates. I'm not sure if I said that, pronounced that second word correctly. Tannins, which help tone our tissue. Saponins, which help clean and clarify and clear. And sterols, which help rebuild, among other things. So they have all these components that are powerful and safe plant chemicals that change us. Maca is actually known as an adaptogen now. It balances hormones. So a lot of people ask the question, well, what does it, what if I'm on some sort of hormone therapy? Or what about kids or teenagers? The hormones are already running high enough. There are no hormones in maca. Maca uses its adaptogenic property to balance the hormones, and the body changes levels from what's out of balance into what becomes in the range of balance. So it feeds the body, mitigates stress, and has all sorts of other wonderful benefits. Here are a few studies. Okay, there was a study with women, and these are all recent studies. If you look at the dates, enhanced sexual drive and fertility, both men and women, this was equal to both sexes. So it's not like a women's root or a man's root, and some herbs are that way, but not maca. More energy and vigor, less depressed mood. A couple of studies there that you can see. Here's another one. Well, sorry, I'm going to jump. We'll come back to another study. How it does what I mentioned with mood is that nervous system and endocrine system or glandular system functions, that they do coordinate, and that is when we feel homeostasis. Part of this is, most of it probably, hypothalamus related. So this gland that links our nerves to other glands, and which also controls the pituitary gland. Maca, and Dr. Chacon showed this, has certain plant chemicals, alkaloids, that actually strengthen, fortify both the hypothalamus and the pituitary functioning. And it's funny, a lot of the studies, the scientists will say, it's not clear how, it's not clear why it does this, but when it is consumed, this happens. And so what happens is the body is able to balance. And this is, now I'm giving you some opinion. Opinion after a lot of years around this is that when we give enough nutrition and a wide enough variety of nutrients, the body can balance itself. The one caveat that we would add to that statement is we also need to assist the body in clearing out or clarifying or cleansing, because we live in a world with a lot of impurities in the air, call it pollutants, toxins. There are a lot of different words that people use. And those things the body is built to deal with if the body's strong and if it has the right nutrition. I would add emotional and cognitive debris, because the body has to process that chemically as well. And the body has to clean that out and get rid of it as well. We can't leave it in us. We need to move it out. So again, right back to helping the body do what it's supposed to do. In particular with women, perimenopause. So this is some information from Dr. Allison, featured in studies. So maca makes a difference in hot flashes, mood swings, depression, bone health, strength of our bones. Other evidences of the aging process. The body has great material. It's able to rebuild. It's created that way to rebuild. And so chronic fatigue, another one that you'll hear a lot. I think women just are willing to talk about it. I do not believe it's any more that they're any more susceptible to it than men are. It's just we just won't talk about things. But chronic fatigue, also some evidence that maca will help with that. Through a couple of means, you can see a couple of reasons why that is felt. It all depends on the degree of our imbalance, how quickly we can see a difference. But look what else. Here are a couple of studies within the last 5 years. Maca is shown to have significant nerve protecting activity. Another study showed improved cognitive function, improved motor coordination, improved endurance capacity, and energy production, particularly in the lungs, in the mitochondria in the lungs. So this was a mouse study. So that circles us back to this great maca. Red, black, and yellow. When I started in this a little over 30 years, I should not say that, but 30 years ago, because I'm old, because that makes me old, it was all yellow maca. That's all anybody used. I don't know why. It's amazing. Yellow, they're all amazing. I don't know why only yellow was used. We, in studying the benefits, we were determined to use all the types of maca, and here's your reason why. Differences have been shown. So they all have commonalities, and then they all have their uniquenesses, and we want them all in Solle Excell, because we're not taking a symptomatic approach. We're taking a root change approach, maca root, but root cause in ourselves. And so you can see here are a couple of evidences of some of the particular types. For instance, with black maca, a little more attention with learning and memory, a little more emphasize, a little more significant improvement versus the other two types of maca, though they all helped. And so it is important to have them all. This is just featuring one of them so you can kind of see some of the uniqueness, even to normalizing blood levels, helping the body normalize blood sugar levels and tolerance and sugar tolerance. Now, this vibrancy blend, dealing principally with your nerves and your glands, we talked about the macas. It does help other things as well. Its main focus in our formula was that. Would not be complete without this white fruit. You see, it's brown fruit actually, but inside it's white. Cupuaçu. And I'm probably pronouncing it slightly off because it's Portuguese, and Brazil is where it comes from. Cupuaçu is loaded with an array of vitamins, an array of minerals, lots of antioxidants, which help protect, lots of proteins and good fats, amino acid building blocks of protein and essential fatty acid. So these wonderful fats. That is why in Brazil it's referred to as a pharmacy and a fruit. Helps all sorts of function. Among them, look at that last point of this slide, theacrine. One of the substances that is found in a few different natural fruits. Less fatigue, more focus, more energy, but and a non-caffeine substance. So cupuaçu is extremely useful in all of this. Now, before we jump to the second half, Kendall, so we talked a lot about our glands and our nerves and some of that balancing. Any questions or comments on that part of Excell before we jump into the second half, which is clearing away all the blockages and restoring flow? Because in the first half was all about sort of nervous system and glandular flow, to put it that way, but it would not be complete if we didn't have the second half. Anyway, But back on the glandular side, anything you want to?
Well, it's interesting that as we talk about Solle Excell, it's hard to nail it down to what it does, because it's so broad and so far-reaching, and just in this first half of it, we're talking about mental clarity and libido and blood sugar and just full of beneficial compounds, vitamins, minerals, all this stuff. I don't really have a question other than I'm just amazed at the strength and the powerfulness of this product.
Yeah, you could eat that blend by itself and see a ton. Mm-hmm. You could see a lot of that. There's a reason we included the other half of the formula, but if you didn't have the other half, you'd still see a lot of good occur. Mm-hmm. But let me explain why we added on the other half then. So the second half is called Soul Clear, and these are all herbs that help restore flow. I like to think of them that way. So let's look at a little bit about what they are. But before we do, there's a book called Medical Herbalism. David Hoffman says this, and I love to mention this whenever I'm asked to share about Excell. He says, if respiratory disturbances, so anything that impedes or gets in the way or even lessens our ability to get oxygen in and also expel the gases that we've already used, okay, respiratory disturbances that inhibit that gas exchange can lead to a lowering of the body's vitality, an increase in metabolic disorders. So metabolic disorders are those things that are related in every way to the creation of energy, which is needed for everything. Okay, those disorders are related to respiratory health. And finally, look at the third step. Finally, a degeneration of tissue. So I don't think we always think of when there are degenerative conditions, I wonder if I could improve my breathing, get oxygen. And yet, it's at the core. So this is why you'll see a big part of the second half of this formula is about that, okay? Now, butcher's broom. There's your first one. What does this do? The flow of blood to extremities, legs, feet, hands, and to the brain. Toning those vessels, those blood vessels. So that's why varicose veins, hemorrhoids, things like that. It helps tone them. It also, kidneys. There is some work with the kidneys in relieving fluid buildup. These are all things associated with nutrition through butcher's broom. Next one is related to that same flow. It's called eyebright. But notice a couple of these other properties of eyebright. Brings inflammation down, clears some mucus, improves breathing. Eyebright is usually talked about for its eye benefits, hence the name, right? But it does much more than that. Because it's such a good astringent, it does help the integrity of like those little tiny blood vessels. And that's why it gets so much attention. That's one of the reasons why it gets so much attention with eye health. Fennel. Now we're jumping to the respiratory, to lungs and oxygen. Calming to coughs, reducing inflammation, promoting healthy circulation and a healthy range of blood pressure. Notice fennel also helps prevent clotting. nutritionally supports those processes in the body that mitigate that and balance that. Fennel's a great antioxidant too. Mullein is a second one focused on the lungs. Super well known here. A lot of people see it as something that helps clear them out. Reducing inflammation, stimulates fluid production, helps us. Expectoration, just as that we can, when we cough, it's productive. Something comes out, something is eliminated. Not always do people realize that congestion up here in our head, mullein is it doesn't just work down the lungs, it works up in here too. And there's some evidence showing that inflammation in the ear, which can affect dizziness and balance and all sorts of things. Mullein provides nutrition that helps the body regulate that. Here's another one, fenugreek. Not only does it improve circulation, and there are some association with fenugreek and healthy levels of weight in aiding in that, but also all the measures of healthy blood vessels, the pressure, etc. But notice the second point from fenugreek. It actually helps the body, or better said, when that's part of our diet, our body will produce more of growth hormone. And that scientists feel is likely because of the way it acts with the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands, those two glands. Fenugreek is something a person can notice a fairly immediate difference with allergies. Also actually deals with libido. So it's an interesting one with that connection between hormones and lung health. And then finally we have celery seed, antispasmodic. So the extremes or extreme reactions being mitigated. It has something called luteolin, which actually helps prevent cognitive decline. So something there for your brain. And look at the other things in celery seed: better blood flow, lower levels of stress hormones, better libido. Bilberry, now another one to dealing with this flow of blood and better vessels, so varicose veins, etc. Another one that's strongly attached to conversations about eye health, being both protective and also the body does, again, now I'm jumping to opinion, but this is opinion based on a lot of experience with these plants and particularly the Solle formulas. When the body gets nutrients that it doesn't normally receive that are essential, it's always trying to improve itself. This is my opinion. And skin and organs and all these things, bones, they replenish and they restore, right? On a schedule. Some take more days and time than others to do that. Well, if you can improve the raw materials for that next cycle, then the body, it follows that the body can do better and actually potentially rebuild better than what the immediate past was available to it and what you experience and what we experience. So this is why, in my opinion, bilberry, people will say, may improve vision, because absolutely, I've seen a lot of in cases where that's happened, because those tiny capillaries are strengthened, there's less inflammation, and other factors not mentioned here, that bilberry becomes a great nutrient that the body can use to do a little bit better. Not a lot of people know it also is antibacterial and soothing to digestion. And here's the last ingredient of this clearing and cleansing, clarifying blend, the Solle Clear blend. It is a flower from pagoda tree, Sophora japonica. The high levels of quercetin found in that flower are the reason we used it in this formula. It's a bright yellow because quercetin has a major effect on the body's reaction to and management of allergies. Think of it both environmental and food, so those allergic reactions. What does quercetin do? The list is longer than three, if we did 3 slides like this, but here are just a few: reducing the congestion, these impediments to the flow of energy, improving circulation and blood pressure, improving the lipids in the blood, and actually protecting kidneys, which have a lot to do with this flow as well, as we know. So these are the ingredients, and I believe that is my last one, right, Kendall?
Yeah.
That's a lot of talking, but Excell is an incredibly robust formula. There's a lot there, and there's a reason for all of it. It's quite a difference maker.
Yeah. A couple of things that really kind of came to my mind as you were talking about the Solle Clear blend is I've been suffering a little bit with thick blood. I have too many red blood cells, and it is believed that when you're not getting enough oxygen and whatever, your body tends to produce more red blood cells. And so that was very interesting to me to think about it in in a way that Soul Excell could help my body utilize oxygen better, and therefore help me with that. Also, another thing that was interesting to me was this idea that you talked about, where as we put in this nutrition into our bodies, as they rebuild, they're rebuilding at a schedule, and if we keep the nutrition in our bodies as it does that, we'll have the better building blocks to work with. That was very interesting to me as well.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because I think the body's always working on that, which, by the way, leads us to why it's wonderful to keep a rotation of good nutrition. Because it is going to keep, next cycle comes and we stop, it's going to use what we got going there at that next cycle. So we can control that part.
Yeah.
We can't control always everything that comes upon us in life, but we can control the flow of good nutrition.
Yeah. And I think that talks a lot about why Soul works and why Soul Excell especially works. We can't talk about why Soul works unless we talk a little bit about how Soul works. And we have somebody coming to us from Arnaudville, Louisiana. Her name is Abigail Frederick, and she's had an experience with Soul Excell, and she would like to share that with us now. Abigail. Hi, Abigail.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Great. It's great to have you with us. Would you share your experience with us about Soul Excell?
Yes. I had dealt with a hormonal imbalance since high school. I found out about it right out of high school. And from that point throughout college, it was kind of like it was just there. It was no big deal. But by the time I got engaged and got married, there was a lot of things happening that led us to infertility. And with infertility, if anybody has ever dealt with infertility, which I hope you haven't, you tend to have to schedule and pretty much make a chore out of anything desirable in your life. And that can lead to a lot of negative thought patterns around desire and sex and all of these things. So I was somebody that was also dealing with depression and anxiety. I finally did go on to have 2 beautiful babies, but that depression and anxiety and that low energy and that lack of desire carried on throughout postpartum. And I just knew that was not a way I wanted to live. So I was laying the foundation. I was really upping my nutritional game. I was really having good results with Bella. And I started exploring other options without Soul. I knew I really wanted like a little bit more of an energy boost for where I was at. So I found Excell. And when I read about the Tri-Maca blend, I was sold because why not? It was only going to help, right? So I started taking Excell every single day. My energy did increase. And when that finally started to shift for me, my mindset also started to shift and my libido soared and I was a brand new person. So I'm a very big lover of Excell. And now I have it stocked in my cabinet regularly. Anytime we feel nasally or anything like that, we go for Excell. If we need one before a workout, we go for Excell. It's definitely one of our must-haves in our cabinet.
Thank you so much. So how long have you been acquainted with Soul Naturals?
It's been over 2 years now.
Yeah, and you were taking, how long were you taking the Bella Health before you started taking Excell?
I don't even think it was 3 months yet.
Yeah. That's great that you saw some success with that, and then and the great success you saw with Excell. Thank you for spending some time with us, and because you did, I'm going to send you one of our new Excell bottles. You'll be seeing that in the mail here shortly. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that was great. Thank you so much. If you would like to get some swag from us and share your story, your experiences with any of our products, please email me at kendall@soulnaturals.com, and I will put you on the program and we'll have you tell your story, and I'll send you a little bit of swag for doing it. Now, if you've been paying attention to social media, or any of that, you will have seen that we are having a special right now. And that special is if you buy any size Solle Excell, you get a Solle Maca XD for $10. All you have to do is go and use the code MACALOVE. In the box, just add a Solle Excell to your order and put the MACALOVE in the box, and it will add the Solle Maca XD to your order. You don't have to add the XD yourself. It'll add that when you put the code in, and then it'll put it in for $10 for you. So that is our program for today. We have talked about Solle Excell and its many benefits, and we're so thankful to have Greg, who has shared his knowledge with us. He might not think he's an expert, but he is the expert on all Solle products. He has been integral in formulating them, and we're so thankful for his knowledge and his care when he has formulated those for us. Our next show, Why Solle Works, will be on February 28th, and we'll be talking about adaptable and referencing hormones as well, and its many other benefits as well. So we will see you in our next show.